We're here because some guy I've never heard of, he might be in Congress, introduced an impeachment resolution, but he's not here. He hasn't been here for at least the last hour, and every witness here is in agreement that we really shouldn't be impeaching judges. I haven't heard a single colleague on the other side say we should be impeaching.
Would the gentleman
judges.
yield?
Not yet. And this guy's just raising bucks on this issue. This is like a fundraising ploy, but we all are here, like we're in our suits, we're wasting, or we're not dedicating ourselves to other matters because this guy wrote some article. It just seems kind of absurd to me because no one even thinks that's the remedy. And I dare, whoever this person is, I hope he would come, I dare him to bring a privilege resolution because we could actually debate this, but it's just a stunt. I promise you, it's a stunt. I will contribute to his campaign if he brings before this committee an impeachment resolution.
Welcome back to the channel, Patriots. It's time to cut through the noise, expose the nonsense, and stand up for the Constitution and our great nation. Now, let me tell you, there's been a lot of buzz lately about a recent congressional hearing, and we need to talk about what's really going on here. This hearing is being framed as some kind of political theater, but the truth is, it raises critical questions about accountability, the role of our judiciary, and the balance of power in this country. So let's break it all down, piece by piece, and get to the heart of the matter from the perspective of every proud, freedom-loving American out there.
Now, Speaker, you said some of these judges are pretend presidents,
how much would the gentleman give to his campaign?
700 district judges that are pretending that they're president. There's a judge, a single judge in a federal courthouse in Amarillo, Texas, where conservatives are form shopping and having cases sent to him, Judge Kaczmarek. In 2023, he suspended mifepristone approval. That's a medical abortion pill. Can you direct me, Speaker, to the statement you gave objecting to him doing that? I couldn't find it.
No, I haven't spoken out on this issue until I was invited to come here.
Okay.
I wrote about it in 2011, and I've submitted that for the record.
How about when Judge Kaczmarek ruled against ACA protections for LGBTQ individuals in November 2022?
Well,
Did you speak out against that rogue judge?
I think the term "I have not spoken on this issue until I was invited here" was generic and included every single one of the cases you want to ask about. So I will stipulate in advance. I did not comment because I did not comment. And I'm not here to comment on a single case.
How about an election? Okay, I got it.
I'm here to say that the system is out of whack.
Speaker.
Which, by the way, I wrote about in 2011.
An elected Trump third term, is that constitutional? I think it's funny, too.
If the Congress wishes to pass a constitutional amendment and the requisite number of states decide to endorse that amendment, of course he would have the option to run for re-election. In the absence of that kind of constitutional change, I think that it's impossible.
Thank you. And with that, I'll yield to the gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the Speaker for admitting openly on the record that it is unconstitutional. But the concerns that I have are around the fact that we are sitting here pretending as if we all are looking out for the Constitution, yet we are coming from completely different angles. So let me go to Professor Shaw. To be clear, which branch of government is responsible for interpreting what is and what is not legal?
Well, the Supreme Court, the Article 3 judicial branch has the final word.
So the judiciary is who it is. So it's not the legislators.
You know, I'd say every branch has an obligation to interpret the Constitution. The final word comes from the courts.
From the courts. It's not the former speakers. It's not everyday people. It's not the president. I just wanted to make sure that we understood who it was that was responsible. And what is so frustrating for so many of the American people, the ones that are watching right now and otherwise, and the reason that they're outraged and scared is because what we see right now is a diminishing of all these institutions. Right now, we have a legislative branch that has decided that it intentionally would disregard their duties. They are not checking the president whatsoever. The only check that the American people have had thus far has been from the judiciary. And the judiciary isn't pulling this out of the sky. In fact, they are coming from basic reading of like the plain language of the Constitution for all of those that are constitutionalists when we start talking about things such as what birthright citizenship is. But one of the things that I want to make sure that I get to, because there are deeper implications if we go down this rabbit hole. Imagine the type of world where the president does whatever he wants to and no one can rein him in. It's a world that right now many people are afraid of. Let me put it this way. If Joe Biden would have done an executive order for abortion, despite what the Supreme Court said, that would have been a problem. Imagine if the state of Colorado kept Trump off the ballot and other states follow suit. That would have been a problem. Or imagine if Jack Smith ignored Eileen Cannon and with the help of an activist judge decided that he was going to prosecute the sitting president anyway. The problem that we have right now is that if we continue down this road, then we will not have a rule of law, because we have people that are currently serving and they're saying things like, ignore the judge's order. What it means to have law and order in this country is that you follow the order and you go through the appeals process, even if you dislike what the judge did. Thank you, and I yield.
And I'll yield back.
First off, let me address what Representative Swalwell said. He claims that this hearing is a fundraising stunt because some congressman, who Swalwell says he doesn't even know, introduced an impeachment resolution against certain federal judges. Now, let me be perfectly clear. Holding judges accountable is complicated. Not a stunt. It's a necessary check in our constitutional system. If a federal judge oversteps their bounds or legislates from the bench, it is Congress's responsibility to address that. Swalwell seems more concerned with mocking the process than engaging with the substance of the issue. He's dismissing the hearing as a waste of time. But let me ask you this, Patriots. If Congress refuses to act, who will hold these activist judges accountable? Judges aren't kings. They don't get to rule unchecked. And if Swalwell thinks raising concerns about judicial overreach is just a money grab, then maybe he's the one who needs to reevaluate his priorities. Now, let's talk about the real issue here. The judicial activism that's been running rampant in this country. Swalwell and others want us to ignore the fact that there are judges out there who are blatantly ruling based on ideology rather than the law. Take the case they mentioned in Amarillo, Texas. Conservatives are accused of forum shopping because they're trying to find judges who will uphold the Constitution. Well, excuse me, but isn't that the point? If liberal activists can find judges who twist the law to fit their agenda, why shouldn't conservatives have the right to seek out judges who actually respect the Constitution as it's written? And that judge in Amarillo who suspended the approval of a dangerous abortion pill? Let me remind you folks that the federal government has a duty to ensure the safety of every single American. If there are legitimate concerns about a drug's safety or legality, a judge has every right to step in and say, hold on, let's review this. But, of course, the left doesn't want that. They want judges who rubber stamp their agenda without question. And then there's Representative Crockett. She tries to paint this picture of a dystopian future where the judiciary is the only branch keeping the executive branch in check. Really? That's her argument? She says the legislative branch isn't doing its job, but then turns around and criticizes Republicans for actually trying to do theirs by questioning rogue judges. The hypocrisy is astounding. And let's not even get started on how she glosses over the role of states in checking federal power. Patriots, this is why we need strong state governments willing to stand up to federal overreach. If the federal judiciary is going rogue, then it's up to the states and the people to push back. That's the balance our founders intended. One thing Crockett said really stuck with me, though. Her comment about the need to follow judicial orders, even if we disagree with them. Now, on the surface, that sounds reasonable. Law and order are the backbone of this nation. But here's the problem. What happens when those judicial orders are unconstitutional? What happens when judges start making rulings that go against the very fabric of our republic? Are we just supposed to sit back and accept it? Absolutely not. Patriots, our founders gave us tools to fight back. Tools like impeachment, constitutional amendments, and yes, peaceful civil disobedience when necessary. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture here. What we're really seeing in this hearing is an attempt to delegitimize conservative efforts to restore balance to our judiciary. The left wants to paint us as extremists for simply demanding that judges stick to the Constitution. They want to scare Americans into thinking that holding judges accountable is some kind of attack on democracy. But let me remind you, folks, that true democracy thrives when all branches of government are held accountable, when no one branch oversteps its bounds. So, what's the takeaway here? The takeaway is that hearings like this one are necessary. They're not stunts. They're part of the process of holding our government accountable. And if Swalwell, Crockett, or anyone else has a problem with that, then maybe they should take a closer look at the Constitution they claim to defend. Because it's our job as Americans to question, to challenge, and to ensure that our republic remains strong. Remember, Patriots, the fight for our Constitution isn't just happening in Washington, D.C. It's happening in courtrooms, in state legislatures, and yes, even in hearings like this one. So stay informed, stay engaged, and never stop fighting for the values that make this country great. That's all for today, folks. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And as always, stay strong, stay free, and God bless America.